Welcome to the Living Connected podcast. I'm your host, Mallory Meyer. I'm a multi-six-figure online entrepreneur, founder of White Wolf Reiki, and creator of the Frequency Business Mastery School. I weave together the metaphysical with the science of the subconscious mind and timeless business principles to help you take your passion for serving and empowering others full time. I'm not just here to teach you how to build a profitable and aligned business, but to invite in more authenticity, awareness, clarity, and certainty in what, who, and how you serve. In return, to generate more sales as you cultivate greater confidence and wealth through deeper self-sovereignty and advocacy, inviting in a trauma-sensitive approach to protocols and processes in our marketing and selling as we honor each client's humanity in the process of living more connected. This podcast is here to connect you further to your self-mastery for business, your lifestyle, and of course, your mindset. Join me on my mission to uplift and elevate the collective to love and light. Welcome to this very first session that I've launched of the Hot Seat Coaching Series. This is an invitation that I've made. You've likely seen it in the show notes already, where individuals can come on the podcast with one specific struggle that they're facing, that they're seeking support in, that they'll receive coaching in, and essentially walk away with some next steps. I had the beautiful Cristina be the first guest within this Hot Seat Coaching series, and really looking forward to sharing with you her episode here today. And as with everything that I always find when I'm working with clients, this opportunity to really not necessarily, and I don't believe I've said this before here, but truly call quote unquote bullshit of, is this really the problem? And what's really behind this story, this belief, this thought that you're holding? And essentially what came forward was exactly in a sense that when we started to flesh out what this initial problem was for Cristina, what was really the root behind it. She came here and she wanted coaching around time management, feeling like she was procrastinating a lot and in a state of overwhelm ultimately. But really what started to unfold and what you'll hear is there was this deeper level within her energetics and mindset of feeling confident enough in what was already produced, in what is already enough, and starting to build beliefs in the results that she was creating. There was another segment within our conversation where we really talked around pillars as well and offering some clarity and some context with specificity to help her ground into what would be enough for her business, but just being mindful of really my even intention of how long these hot seat sessions are. There has been some editing just to make sure that you can really get into exactly the conversation that we were holding for coaching. Being the first opportunity to hold a session like this within at least the podcast, it reminded me a lot of almost sometimes when I used to hold sales calls and have clarity calls, looking to flesh out what are like the real challenges that are happening in your business, in your life, that are preventing you and keeping you stuck from achieving your results. Those, like the conversations then would take 45 minutes, and it really just brought me back into the piece of gratitude that I have and the beliefs that I hold as to why there is so much potency and power in a 6-month container working one-to-one with someone, along with even that 3-month coaching accelerator of mine, because within one short, especially a short hot seat coaching session, it's almost, in a way, not to say impossible, but we are just scratching the surface, and there's so much more to integrate and to be there as truly a coach that's intending to see the most transformational outcome for their clients. And this is truly why I don't hold VIP days or one-off sessions, because we won't get you to the result that you're really desiring. Needless to say, through all of that, it has been such a fun experience and such a joy just connecting in with people I typically wouldn't have that opportunity to connect with. And the whole intention of creating this podcast, not only to hold my own solo episodes, but I really had this vision of hot seat coaching because it's this opportunity where other like-minded soulpreneurs can come together and recognize I'm not alone in this journey. Someone else may be having this exact same struggle that I'm encountering right now. And even if for you it's one small, simple takeaway, that's enough too. So, thank you for being here, for being open to listen, to receive this session, and especially as we kind of iron out and flesh out more of how these sessions will flow. I really appreciate you and just welcoming here Cristina.
Hello, Cristina. I'm so looking forward to holding this space for your hot seat coaching session within Living Connected. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And as we were just talking about before, I'm really looking forward to holding this space. I know obviously why you felt called to come on, but for at least the audience and for the listeners, why don't you share a little bit more about what really motivated you to take this time to receive some coaching and who you are?
Yeah, so I started my coaching journey super recently, just earlier this year. I am an emotional mindset coach, so I work with people to kind of help them open up to their emotional experiences and get the most out of them. But so since this is really a new journey for me, I've never, been a coach before. I've never been my own boss before, had my own business. So I've really been struggling lately to just put all of the energy that I know that I have actually into my program and into everything I know that I have to do. I'm finding it a little bit difficult to like work for myself, if you know what I mean, like kind of holding myself accountable to all the things that I want to get done and giving myself like firm deadlines and just my productivity levels definitely I think could be a lot better.
Yes, I absolutely love that and just want to acknowledge and celebrate you for starting your business and bringing that forward and obviously recognizing, especially I find like time to be, if you've come from like the corporate world, when we have such strategies, structures in place, and then we move into our own business, the challenges that do unfold and having that motivation and that accountability. So this is so common. And I think there's so many individuals that will receive a lot of value. And just something that you made mention of there around being accountable for all the things, really just allowing yourself to acknowledge and explore in this time in your business so far, what have you been able to bring forward?
Okay, so I built out the first round of my signature coaching program. I did build that out and actually offered that earlier this year, a couple months ago. Um, and that went well. I feel like somewhere that I really struggle, another thing that I have been able to put out there is just content on Instagram. That's been like a really big focus lately because since I'm just starting out, I'm really just focused on widening my audience and putting myself out there in front of more people. But what I noticed in the time that I was working on the first round of my program is that I couldn't find a way to balance both. And in that time, I had to totally disappear from social media in order to make time to work for my program. And so now that I'm kind of working on the second round of my program and incorporating all the feedback and all the updates that I want to put into it in order to relaunch it, I'm having trouble like again creating that balance between showing up online and then actually doing all the other work that I have to do in order to like offer something.
I think that's such a beautiful awareness just to bring forward. And when you're mentioning that, of it was challenging for yourself to be operating and running your program while simultaneously growing a business and
Mm-hmm.
continuing to be visible. What did you find was the real challenge for you specifically in that experience, in that instance? What came up for you as a big challenge?
Um, Well, with content creation, it just takes me a lot of time. Um, so that's why I kind of feel like I have to choose between one or the other. But other than that, it's a lot of procrastination and like a lack of focus almost when I sit down and I know what I want to do and what I have to do. Like I can't actually seem to do it. Like my mind is just like in so many places at once.
Yeah, that's definitely like the energy that I was picking up of there's almost so much that it's essentially creating like that freeze state of, well, I'm in like this now block of overwhelm. And it just feels like one little tiny step is impossible for me to take forward here. So I would
Yeah.
really love to explore bringing some clarity and also like certainty in core pillars perhaps for your business. So from a just out of curiosity, when you think about what are those core priorities that you need to accomplish to create the results that you desire in your business, what do you feel are like your top three core priorities to execute on a day-to-day basis, even on a weekly basis for yourself?
So right now it would be putting out content and like growing my audience. Actually finalizing my program, like finish building it out, all the modules and all of that. And then the third thing would be actually once I launch it and have clients, actually having time for them as well.
Okay, perfect. How do you know that it's like enough within you? And like, how does it feel to know if you maybe necessarily didn't get to a specific lens of your program that you wanted to complete that day? What is really like within yourself signifying that I've done enough today and now I can maybe go and enjoy and like refuel myself?
Um, when it kind of separates. So with showing up on social media and creating content, enough could literally be just like showing up on my stories and I'll feel satisfied with that. Like as long as I showed up and I engaged with my community and I did all of that, that feels really good. Um,
Okay.
in terms of like my program, I think literally just being able to actually cross things off of my checklist because I've had the same checklist for like months and it's not really moving along.
What do you find is like really preventing you from moving that checklist along? Do you have a deadline at least on the launch date already implemented?
I don't. So I definitely have like, I don't know if I call it a struggle, but like I've been really lenient with myself um and not wanting to like pressure the launch or rush the launch. So I haven't had like a deadline. I've just kind of been like floating around working on it. Whenever it's like ready to be ready, it'll be ready, but it just doesn't feel like enough. Um, but then like I feel like creating content actually does get in the way of it because it just takes up so much of my time. And like I said, even if it's just showing up on my stories, like I'll record the same story and it'll take me like hours to just like post a story. So like a lot of my time and a lot of my focus just goes to that because I feel like if not, I just like completely disappear from social media and that kind of scares me.
Mhm. I'm almost like seeing these two themes, one of which is like how in your process to create content evolves is being like one tangent here, and like how we can really simplify and constrain yourself. So when you do show up, there's almost just a deeper level of certainty. And then of course there's like this other thread of ultimately committing to a date and how that would
Mhm.
feel with for yourself and really kind of also exploring with you around, well, what happens if it's not all ready and you go to launch type of thing? And almost like this lens of doing some of this inner work around trust and acceptance of what already you have created is enough. Again, almost like that theme of enough a little bit, but tapping into how can I be so certain that in what I've already created and what I already know in this journey that I'm going to be taking someone, I can already start enrolling or I can already start speaking to people coming on board for this specific date. So it's almost, as much as I know we started this conversation around time management, it still is in that lens, but there's a little bit of like other segments that are obviously contributing to it. Is there anyone specifically out of those two that you would really love to kind of take the focus into?
Um, Maybe the second thing you said about like how do I know when I have enough to actually start launching? Because I so the first time that I launched the first round of my program, I had actually only completed like half of it, and then I launched it, and then I started, and then while I was already like seeing clients, I was finishing up the rest of it. And I know that that's kind of like an industry standard. I've like learned that through other coaches, but that was something that really got in my way, because then I just felt so pressured to have, like, now I had like really firm deadlines with clients like counting on me. So it was like the only thing that I could focus on. And I think that that was what led me to like literally disappear from social media during that whole time. And that actually, like, even further than disappearing from social media, it really disconnected me from like my why and my purpose and like why I was doing all of this, because I felt like I only had time to like focus on finishing everything by the time that it had to be done.
Could your clients get like those lessons, those techniques, those tools from you in real time versus recorded?
So I thought about doing that and having them be like live group sessions, but I don't feel very confident about that yet. I'm still kind of like, um, I'm still getting comfortable with working with people one on one in general, and like building up my coaching skills and my confidence as a coach. So it really just like intimidates me to do a whole, like the whole program as like a group thing. So I just don't really feel like I'm ready for that yet. And then also I'm really leaning towards the idea of having shorter video modules, like 3 minutes each, and just having a library of those shorter videos rather than, like I said, breaking it up into like longer videos, which I feel like if I did it in a group setting, it wouldn't make sense to like bring a group together so many different times for such short modules. It would make
Mhm.
more sense to do like the full week's worth of content with them as a group.
I think first and foremost is looking at the energetic side, right? For you of the confidence, feeling like everything is at enough and really building upon your mindset and your beliefs. Like, how often are you really evaluating your mindset and allocating that energy and time to do some self coaching around that and build up some evidence to support that confidence and the result and the certainty of what you offer? Is that something that you incorporate regularly?
Yeah, I do that a lot. And I feel like that's a lot of times when when I'm, like I said, that I sit down and then I literally don't end up doing anything. It's because I end up just like going into whatever I'm feeling and like trying to, I don't know if necessarily coach myself, but definitely just trying to understand myself. And like there's so many facets of myself that I'm just now learning through uh how confronting it is to be a coach and like build a coaching program. So I get confronted with things all the time, like literally every day. And then I just take so much time to just sit with that and like journal about it and try to understand myself. So like if anything, I feel like that's kind of taking away some of my time that I could be working on this stuff.
Yeah, it's so important, but it is like that divine balance between
Yeah.
how much time as I'm like simultaneously I'm becoming someone as I'm still being this version of myself. And really, the more that we kind of get in front of the clients that we need to serve, that confidence in itself will start to envelop on a deeper level within yourself too. And
Mhm.
it's just really kind of moving through some of that discomfort in the way that feels safest for you, obviously holding that space for others and coming into like, even if it's just like one of these beliefs of like, I'm so certain clients get the results they desire when they come to work with me, and showing your mind how you have already created that. You have evidence behind that and where you can go find that right now in your reality, and constantly just make that a practice to come back into.
That makes sense.
Is there anything else that you found really useful that you're going to take away and implement?
Way back in the beginning, when we kind of like we're at a crossroads of like, are we going into what's holding me back with content creation or with structuring and building my program? I think those two different like blind sides were very important for me to identify, because you like there's so much that goes into both. So just that awareness of like what is holding me back on this side, and then what's also holding me back on this side, because they both come together so much.
Absolutely, right? And that really comes into, and thank you for acknowledging that, and just that bringing like the blind spot forward for yourself, because when we're not necessarily certain in ourselves of creating that result, or the confidence, again, any kind of state of that certainty, just really thinking about how we can kind of what's the word that I'm looking for? It's almost just like over over amplifying. I'm just going to go with the time that we've had with something that we could have made the decision behind so much quicker. And I think that's really where the struggle with the content can come in, of how can you just bring in a deeper level of trust and certainty of within yourself, in saying like, this is just what I want to bring forward today. It will land for my clients. It is enough. And also finding that whole theme within how that is relevant to, of course, the work that you're offering and the results that you're creating for individuals. So I think that's a perfect segue to, at least before we close up this hot seat coaching session, dive into how people can find you. And I will have it in the show notes, just to share by yourself here, how they can even then work with you with your program.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. My handle is Cristina Pelez _. So I'm sure the spelling will be in the show notes. And right now I actually just opened like early bird enrollment for my program while I'm still figuring out all the kinks. So we kind of talked about that. So I did do that. And I am just accepting questions and interest through the DMs as of right now.
Okay, beautiful. Well, I'll see if I can have the link to that too, to add to the show notes when this airs, and then people can go and find that if they feel called to work with you as well. But thank you so much for all your vulnerability and coming forward to share with me exactly what it is that you need support with your business right now.
Yeah, no, thank you for holding this space and having me here.
Yeah, such a pleasure.
Thank you again for Cristina, and just for her vulnerability in this process. It takes a lot of courage, not just to raise your hand to ask for coaching, but more so than anything, even asking for coaching in a live podcast session. So I really do just want to celebrate Cristina in taking that next step. And also, again, acknowledging in this episode, as you heard, it started off with time management, frustration in never feeling like she was doing enough, and then also acknowledging that there was a level of confidence that needed to come forward, and ways of which she can start to shift and invite in new thoughts and beliefs and decisions that will help to implement and create that state further. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there was also a segment of this conversation where we got into a big discussion around pillars that we can implement in our business to ground us into what it is that we need to do. And that in itself, she established some very specific metrics that allowed her to feel, again, this is enough. This is enough for me to implement. And if I do have the time and the space to want to do more, amazing. Just a cherry on top. One of the biggest areas of growth for clients coming to work with me is having a desire to feel more confident. And like you've heard in episode 2 even, I invite you to go back, but instead of confidence, it's really looking at it as courage and finding that courage instead. Also, confidence isn't necessarily a feeling, but it's actually a behavior that we're always working on. Confidence is an action. It's meant to be developed as a skill and an ability. Confidence is a situational. So, nurturing your confidence as you develop clarity, certainty, and trust ultimately in your abilities. And this is what we really get to work on in an environment and in a container where you can start to take these behaviors forward and instill greater levels of confidence. Outside of that, even just asking yourself, how are you 1% more confident than you were yesterday from a behavior you may have taken? Lastly, just in closing up this hot seat coaching session, especially just recapping what you heard with Cristina, one of the biggest things was what questions and what types of thoughts and beliefs, again, can you invite in that will instill and show your mind the evidence of confidence and behaviors you have taken to give you deeper levels of certainty in all that you already are and all that you already have to produce the results that you are offering. What do you need to specifically believe about yourself? What do you need to tell yourself every single day to know and trust that you get your clients the results without even necessarily adding more or investing in a new certification? Where again have you been able to just acknowledge and celebrate and give that appreciation into everything that's brought you to this point? And ultimately, at this stage, choosing not to indulge in these thoughts that are creating uncertainty, that are creating frustration or hesitation that I'm not ready, but having this sovereign choice to say and the ability to make that decision of I'm going to choose to believe that I am enough and I am ready to serve, and these are the reasons why. So if you would like to take this further yourself, if you would like to be a guest and come on to receive a piece of hot seat coaching in a specific area in your business that you are really struggling with, I'd love for you to just complete the application in the show notes and we can assess if that would be a really good fit for you to have this opportunity as well. And for those of you that really connected and resonated with Cristina's journey and the work that she offers, be sure to find her on Instagram. I have as well within the show notes her bio linked in ways of which you can connect further. Thank you again so much, and we'll chat next week.